77th round of EV Gaming's Losers Bracket podcast, and this might be one of the most important weeks in competitive gaming all year long. We've got two giant competitive gaming events here in North America. Of course, I'm talking about both EVO 2011 and MLG Anaheim. We have a couple of different VV players from all games that will be going on at MLG, as well as some of our Mortal Kombat players that will be attending EVO. We're actually going to start off with that right now. This week on the Losers Bracket, we once again are welcoming VVV Krayzie, one of the admins from TestYourMight.com, as well as VVV Napalm78. Guys, welcome to the Losers Bracket. Krayzie, it's wonderful to have you back, sir. How are things going in your preparation for EVO this weekend?
Pretty good, man. I've been actually practicing this entire week. I was actually practicing before I got on this podcast, and I'm gonna go hard, you know.
Great to hear. And Napalm, welcome to Losers Bracket for the first time, sir. For those who do not know who you are, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Corey, born and raised in Las Vegas. My main focus right now is Mortal Kombat 9, and can't wait for EVO.
Beautiful, and that means that the tournament itself is going to be right around the corner from you. Of course, EVO is going to be held at the Rio Casino and Resort in Las Vegas this weekend. Biggest fighting game tournament of the year, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, etc. Guys, what are your thoughts on the pools that have been announced so far? Do you guys know who you'll be facing off in your groups?
I'm feeling pretty good about my pool. I don't really know exactly how many good players are going to be in my pool. I honestly, when I go into a tournament, whether it be a local, a major, EVO, I never underestimate any player. I play every single player as if they were the best player. That's the only way to actually advance. You know, you never underestimate your opponents. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about this.
As far as I'm concerned, my pool, I only know of two people that are on my pool. I know one of them, Fubar Duck. He's to my knowledge, a Kung Lao and a Raiden player. Seems pretty good, but personally, I look as playing a character, not a person, so the kind of mindset I'm going in with.
That's a very interesting thing you just said. Could you explain what you mean by the difference between playing a character or playing a person?
Playing a person, you can either have a tendency to either get discouraged or too encouraged. You know, I think you want to have the same kind of outlook on a fight, on a match, no matter who the person is. If you think it's somebody you can beat, you take them lightly, they beat you, then what? You know, play each character, you know, the best you know how to play against them, and leave it at that, no matter who they are.
So you don't psych yourself out when you play a better player, worry that you're going to lose, just go in there and play the character and not worry about the player. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Let me ask a question to you. I know that some players play Mortal Kombat 9 on the Xbox. They'll obviously be coming to EVO, playing it on the PS3. For those players, do you anticipate them having any challenges switching platforms? Do you think it's going to be second nature to them?
Probably second nature. You know, they're going to be able to be using the same controller. You know, I'm playing with the same controller with, you know, when I play on Xbox Live and when I play on the PlayStation 3. And there's no real difference as far as frames and stuff go on either of them.
So VV Gaming will have, obviously, Krayzie, yourself, Napalm. Is Wonder Chef attending too, correct?
Yeah, he'll be there.
And then, of course, Rio, correct?
Yes.
So here's my question. Each of you, starting with you, Glenn, and then going to you, Corey. Krayzie, what are your predictions? Top three, what do you think?
Top three, well, I predict that I will be in the top three, Rio and Wonder Chef. We've actually been practicing for quite a while already. Rio, you know, he's actually a player, you know, you should never underestimate. He goes in the lab hard. I mean, for Power Up, we were picked up and we were actually playing in the same house, Rio and me, and us three, Wonder Chef, Rio, and myself, are actually pretty familiar with the entire cast, and we've been doing that for quite a while, you know, trying to understand the character, and hopefully, you know, in 3 days, you know, we do good.
Let's say I am new to Mortal Kombat and I'm learning about this. Is there one character that each player tends to typically play? One or two characters? If so, which ones do you play?
My character is actually, my most consistent character is actually Ermac. And the character that I've been messing with for Evo is Cyrax, which is one of the top characters in this game. And as far as what everybody else would be using, most likely we will see a return of the Raidens, the Kung Laos, and of course the Ermacs. Pretty much the favorite character in major tournaments.
All right, Corey, what do you say?
Top 3? I'm thinking. I think Rio absolutely has a good chance of taking it all. But you got people like Perfect Legend, Justin Wong, who it's MK9 is not his main focus, but he's still going to be hard to beat no matter what he's playing. I would like to see VVV in there for sure. Myself, realistically, I'm hoping for top 16.
So for people who are a little unfamiliar with how EVO works, as opposed to events like MLG or WCG, can you kind of explain how the group play stage works and how you work your way down to the final group of players?
I believe that as far as this one goes, it's going to be 32 pools consisting of 16 players each. 2 players from each pool are going to advance. Then those players are going to play later that night, and they will do top 8 Sunday, I believe.
EVO is obviously an event with multiple fighting games. Do you think that sometimes, like Justin Wong, for instance, he's a name everybody knows, but he's also somebody that plays many games, including Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Mortal Kombat. Do you think that hurts players like him and allows players who focus just on Mortal Kombat 9 to step up and take the win over him? Or do you think having a wide range of fighters is something that gives him almost an advantage to the competition?
To be honest, it all depends on the player. There's actually some players that can't handle playing multiple games at the same time, but we've seen Justin Wong do very well playing multiple games at the same time. So it all depends on the player. I think Justin will do good. Even so, looking at his pool right now, he has Chris G and Flo, which is a pretty heavy pool to look at.
Now, since we had just mentioned other games, the other games that will be at EVO, aside from Mortal Kombat, of course, we've got Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I'm personally looking forward to that myself, Blaze Blue, Continuum Shift 2, and Tekken 6, former MLG title from last year. Now, Glenn, I know you personally have followed the scene in a couple of these other games. Do you have any predictions on who's going to be, coming over and taking top maybe 3 or 4 in Street Fighter and maybe Marvel vs. Capcom? What are your thoughts?
As far as Marvel versus Capcom, I actually think Justin Wong will probably end up taking that. There are a lot of good players in that game, but I know he's been in the lab for that game. And Street Fighter, for me at least, it's very hard to say who's actually going to be in the top, considering how Daigo is coming over once again. Justin is still competing in that, even though his focus right now is Marvel. You got players like Wolf Prone and so on, Mike Ross. They're all going to be coming back. Last year, I honestly had a top, but this year I really don't know. There's just so many good players competing.
It's very tough to make some predictions with all these big-name players that will be at the tournament this weekend. Do you have any underdog favorites that you think might sneak up from behind and possibly have a good showing?
I don't know about underdogs since I really haven't been following the scene, but I do have some friends who play Street Fighter who are known good players like Online Tony and Hugo 101. I'd love for them to do very well at this next EVO. I'm a fan of Mike Ross. I love watching him play. I definitely love to see him back up there competing against Daigo, maybe.
Definitely understand that you'd be rooting for your friends and the people that you really want to see succeed in this tournament. I have a favorite player as well from last year when I was over at Devastation. One of the most entertaining players I've ever seen play Street Fighter was Juicebox. So looking forward to seeing him play this weekend if he ends up on the stream at all. Glenn, Napalm, both of you guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Losers Bracket this week. I know you both are going to be traveling out to EVO this week, a little bit further for you, Glenn, than Napalm, since Napalm lives right next to the venue. But, guys, I do want to wish you the best of luck at EVO this week. We cannot wait to see how you do. We're going to be cheering you on this weekend, watching the stream from our homes. Guys, if you have any shout-outs before you go, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Definitely big shout-outs to everybody who's going to go for MK9 at EVO. We had about 500 plus, I believe, and just an amazing number for Mortal Kombat since it's our first actual MK at Evo. Looking forward to playing everybody there. Hopefully see you guys there, and hopefully you guys see me on stream.
All right, thanks for having me. Appreciate being on the show. Shoutouts, testermite.com for sure. They do a lot of good stuff for the community. VVV, of course. Gland, Rio, Krayzie Bone, all part of VVV as well. I just hope to meet a lot of new faces, and should be fun.
Thank you so much for joining us this week, guys. We really look forward to watching you this weekend at EVO. Best of luck. But I have to admit, I'm also really looking forward to watching the Black Ops stream. Yeah, I said that. The Black Ops stream at MLG as well. Anaheim, of course, being right around the corner this weekend alongside EVO, but this one being in Anaheim, California. This is probably going to be the most important Black Ops event to date, and as such, VV Gaming has two teams in attendance. The coach of one of these teams, VV Fly Society, did an impressive 9th place in Columbus, is joining us tonight, Mr. VV Nynjatic. You've heard him here on the show before. George, welcome back to the Losers Bracket. How are you doing tonight, brother?
I am doing extremely good. Thank you for having me back.
Most definitely. You've got to be just as excited as I am about this weekend, probably more so since you're going to actually be competing. But how are you feeling going into this weekend, this large event this weekend in Anaheim?
Oh, feeling really, really good. I mean, I'm still shaking because I'm all excited. They have that little day counter in the pro circuit portion of the website, and it's really interesting too because I go there every day. I'm like 4 days, yes, 3 days. Oh my gosh, 2 days. Oh, so I'm getting really excited.
That is wonderful news. And last event, as I had just mentioned, you guys took 9th place. How has the practice been going for this event? And I'm going to start out with the big question. What are your predictions for the team this event?
Well, with predictions, we're predicting top 4. A lot of teams that have us under their radar are not giving us that much room for error. Some say that it's really going to come down to if we beat Obey or not in our pool. We do have a pretty decent pool. Our pool is Fear, Obey, and who else was it? I can't quite remember. VWS, that is right. So people are saying it's really going to come down to Obey and us now since Fear had to change their roster last minute. But we are predicting ourselves top 4, hopefully doing really good, getting a much better placing.
And while we're speaking of better placings, the other team that we do have attending from VVV Gaming is VVV Force. They actually can't get much better than they did last event. They took 2nd place in Columbus. This will be their first actual event under the VVV Gaming banner, though. What are your thoughts on the team? How do you feel about them going into the event? And any comments on their roster, what they're up against this coming event?
The biggest thing and most important thing about their roster is that they've stuck together, which is very, very important because they continue to build on that team chemistry that was at Columbus. They obviously can get that 2nd place again and possibly even get 1st. So we want to see them right side along with us in top 4.
George, I think I can speak for the entire VVV Gaming community in saying that we would love to see our teams, both of you guys, in the top 4, so you can guarantee that everybody will be watching the stream this weekend, cheering you all on.
George, I got to tell you, to be honest, and this is no offense to Force, but I just have to say this. You guys are my favorite. I'm just going to say it. People say, oh, as the organizational owner, you shouldn't have favorites. But I want to establish that having watched Fly Society, who everybody said, these are nobody you should pick up, don't do it. We gave our faith in you. You guys have been fantastic. But I do have a tough question for you, as my favorite, so to speak. The team that I want to see do well. And I want to see Force do well, too, don't get me wrong. But if it came down to a showdown and I had to pick one team, I would pick Fly Society. But here's my question for you. You know as well as I do that roster changes. You have the next 2 minutes to convince me that I shouldn't have to worry about chemistry. Why have these changes been for the better for Fly Society? Because that's going to be on a lot of people's mind when they watch that stream in Anaheim.
Well, since we made our roster changes, obviously we dropped WAF and Fusion, but we picked up Terrorist and Too Quick. Terrorist is known as one of the best objective players in Call of Duty. Not just Call of Duty Black Ops or Call of Duty 4 or whatever, but in Call of Duty overall. he has done nothing but pull flags and cap them. The team communication has doubled since Columbus. Our communication is so much better. We know how to pull flags quickly, strategically, and we know how to get cutoffs. The biggest thing was cutoffs, and we can never really get them down. And a lot of flag caps at Columbus that we grabbed were pretty luck. We're pretty much all based on luck. So now we have an objective player. He taught us how we need to run objective. And now we have Too Quick. Too Quick got second with resistance at MLG Dallas. He is such a good slayer, and having him and Apathy doing so much work, getting kills and dropping big numbers, getting cutoffs and getting spawn traps is going to help us not only pull flags more, but being able to rally those flags a lot more often and get 2 to 3 flag caps in a row and really get the team's motivation up for us and the other team's motivation down. They're going to be very down. They're going to be like, wow, we just got 2 capped in under a minute. That's not good. We're going to demoralize them, and it's really going to affect their gameplay, and they're going to get really reckless.
Now, you know as well as I do, when we were in Columbus, Search and Destroy was something you had a challenge with as a team. I know since then you've worked with some of our former Counter-Strike players to help you with that type of game type. How do you feel the team is better prepared for Search and Destroy, which was a weak game type for you in Columbus coming into Anaheim? And does either of the new players help you with the Search and Destroy? And how much did the Counter-Strike conversation help you?
The Counter-Strike conversation definitely helped. You know, I really appreciate him helping us out. You know, we got a lot more tactical, using more smokes and stuff like that to really help us confuse the other team. We've put a lot more practice into Search and Destroy with keeping the amount of practice that we have with Domination and CTF, which were definitely our 2 most dominant game types at Columbus. So Search and Destroy is definitely going to be a lot more improved, and especially with the V2 settings being used for Search and Destroy now instead of like it was kind of Columbus. You know, it was 7.5 bomb timer. You know, a longer game time with 2.5 minutes. Now it's 1.5 minutes with a 5-second arm time, and there's no ninja planting now. We're going to be a much, much more dominant team just with the amount of practice that we've been putting in and the Counter-Strike player helping us out. With Terrorist and Too Quick, both with their knowledge, they were both very good at Search and Destroy. We have become extremely good at S&D.
George, you sound like a confident coach. I really appreciate you giving us this detailed update on the team. I want to wish you and everyone from Team Force the best of luck in Anaheim. It is always a pleasure, George, to have you on the show, and I can't wait to watch you guys play in Anaheim. But before we let you go, George, do you have any last shout-outs? Anything you want to say?
Biggest shout outs, first of all, obviously to VVV and their sponsor, SteelSeries Gamer Grub Custom Ink. They hook us up, they help us out. With the Gamer Grub especially, it's just amazing. And the SteelSeries headphones, they're exactly the type of headphones that I like. They hit these headphones perfectly. So, and also definitely some shout outs to some of the community members, Richter, Advocate, Sugar Bear, you know, I love hanging with them, and of course Die Hard and Paradise. Yes, you Paradise. You're too much fun.
Oh, a little nicety. Well, I've got to stop that right there, George, because if anything on this show gets too nice, you know me, it sickens me, all of this camaraderie and friendship and all this closeness that all of you share, while I from the outside find some way to make you all feel miserable.
So basically what he's saying right there, George, is that he hopes that you guys do an incredible job in Anaheim, and we are all really looking forward to watching you.
How does he do that? He can read my mind. You guys are awesome. Good luck, George. I can't wait. Make sure I know you guys are going to keep us posted, but no, we're going to be glued to watching the stream. We wish you really the best of luck.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Hold on, wait. George, before you go, since you're here, why don't you give us a little bit of an outsider's perspective on the Halo universe, what's going on at MLG this weekend as well? Because I do know that you've been following the Halo scene as of late. I'd love to hear your opinion. Who do you think is going to take this tournament?
Ooh, I would definitely have to probably go with Instinct again. I mean, they only dropped one map. One map! You drop one map at Columbus to go and take it. So obviously, everyone calling them the God Squad, everyone wanting to see this team combination since maybe about late Halo 3. Everyone's been wanting to see this, so I definitely have to go with them.
You know, George, now that Jason was smart enough to hold you here, you talk to a lot of people. Give me a little bit of the gossip. What's new? What are some of the changes? What should we know? Besides, yes, everybody thinks Instinct's going to win, and not that I don't think they're not. It's, not a surprise. Give me some other little changes or other little tidbits that other people may not be aware of.
Well, the fact that Straight Rippin' went back to their old Halo 2 and their Halo 3 squad. Everyone knows back in Halo 3, they won the very first national event for Halo 3. Everyone's kind of psyched about that, but I just don't see that squad doing as good as everyone thinks. They went through a lot of team changes, and even though they may have still kept in contact, obviously there's still that trust that's missing. So I don't think they're going to do as good as a lot of people think they are. Obviously, Nated is now on Triggers down. Nated, to me, is one of my favorite players. I see them doing good, getting top 8, getting back into a top placing, status quo, still having their same team. I would love to see them take at least second, possibly give Instinct a run for their money and take first. I think that would be a good matchup. And then Turning Point being Walshy's new team with him, Bestman, Ninja, and Mike Wynn. I think that team has a pretty solid chance, but they got to battle through open bracket, which Walshy has not gone through open bracket in a fairly long time. So as everyone knows, Karma back in Halo 3, when him and I believe it was Nated went through open bracket, they got destroyed. They didn't make it into championship bracket. So Walshy and his team are going to have a pretty hard time making it through open bracket, but I think they can, and I think they can break into the top 14, maybe even top 10.
Top 14, top 10, you think, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I don't think that's too unreasonable. They're experienced, and I don't think anybody would take any of that away from them. So, yeah, I think your predictions are pretty reasonable. What else?
Also, there's Carbon. Carbon, mainly the name making its return, but Ghost Ayame is taking over that name with Mimic, Soldier 187, and Robbie B. Mimic, definitely not an amateur player, definitely not an amateur to MLG and Halo. He was a big name in Halo 3, making a return back to Halo Reach, and Robbie B and Soldier teaming with Ghost Ayame, really giving it a solid squad. I don't know how good they're going to do. Ghost Ayame being a little rusty, coming off of some time off, focusing on other things. I see them staying top 16. They're seeded 15th right now, but I don't see them honestly doing really any better than top 16.
So not very confident there, huh? Top 16 best, huh?
Again, with gaming, there needs to be a lot of trust and teamwork involved in team chemistry, and you really can't get that in just a few weeks or just in a month. That's something that's built over time. So that's one thing with the renewed Straight Rippin' squad, I guess you could say, is that a lot of people are hoping for. But again, I just don't see it happening with either team.
Well, there you have it, George. Well, Jason, if you don't mind, can we let George go now that we've taxed him for both his Call of Duty and now his Halo perspective?
I know, right? He says one nice thing about me, and I want to keep him on the show longer than he's supposed to be here. George, that teaches you about saying nice things in the future. But no, really, I do appreciate you staying a little bit extra and talking some Halo with us. And once again, I am really looking forward to watching you and the rest of Fly Society perform for us and the rest of the MLG Anaheim attendance this coming weekend. Kick some ass, aim for first. We're rooting for you.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, and no problem. I'm definitely glad to be here. I'll be nice more often, so you'll keep me longer next time.
That's a stalker relationship developing right there. I'm just telling you that right now.
Not a problem. Hey, whatever I got to do to get on the podcast.
Hey, we like it when it lasts longer, am I right?
Stride. That's all I'm going to say. Stride.
And on that note, Jason and Jerry, I shall see the both of you later.
Mr. Lunsford, I think it's time for us to talk about StarCraft. What do you think?
I agree. It is time to talk about the new main stage event at MLG.
Let's do this. John, I hear we have a guest. Let's introduce him and let's roll.
That's right. We have VVV MileyCyrus, a.k.a. Tyler. Welcome to the podcast, Tyler. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Welcome, Tyler. It's really good to have you. For those who may not know, MileyCyrus was with us at Columbus, and you quickly became, I would say, right up there with Smith, one of those people who was awesome fan, cheering on our people and doing amazing things. So it's great to finally have you on the show. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, hold on. Before we go any further, I'm hijacking this real quick. I think we have to start off with a little story here, Tyler. I'm sure there's quite a few people that are listening to the show right now going, wait a second, did he just say VVV MileyCyrus? Can you give us a little bit of background, maybe, how you got this name, who the person Tyler is behind this kind of strange name, VVV MileyCyrus?
Oh, that's a very common question. What happened was I didn't think I was going to pick up StarCraft 2 in the beginning, so I didn't plan on taking it seriously, and when I got the game, I picked kind of a troll name, a name I didn't really think I'd keep for very long. And StarCraft 2 just became a game I could not step away from. Every time I went to class or took a drive, I had all these ideas and concepts kind of bouncing around my head, and I just kept on going with it. And the name stuck as well.
All right, Tyler. Well, now we're heading into Anaheim, which is probably the biggest StarCraft 2 event in all of North America. We have a lot of Koreans coming over to play. We have a lot of returning faces, such as Huck and Jinro coming back to play. So with this event and with all of VVV's players here, all the Korean players, what are your predictions as far as how the event will go for everybody?
Well, the event is broken up into two parts. The pool play, where you have 4 divisions in there, and the open bracket. The pool play has 2 groups that are going to be absolutely amazing to watch, and 2 groups that are going to be really good to watch. And the open bracket, which is traditionally for the whiteys, such as myself, are actually peppered in with amazing players from around the world, from Europe, from Korea, even from America and Canada and all the other good spots in the world. So it's going to be pretty intense. Going off the top of my head, Pool A has Naniwa, Huck, Dongrigu, and I think TLO and somebody else I can't remember. That's going to be a really fun group to watch because you have an amazing Hey Pro, I'm being told, is the other one. You have a great player from every race in there, Naniwa, Huck, Dongrigu, and TLO, who I've heard it has some clever nuke-based stuff coming up that we haven't seen. It's going to be a really tough call between all the people there. They're amazing. In Pool B, there's Idra, Boxer, Shep in Control, and Show. Boxer is the Emperor. He needs no introduction. He's going to be one of the most watched people there, and he's going to be bombarded with autographs, I'm sure. And you have Idra in there, which is the American Zerg bad boy. I think the pool is going to come down to those 2 people playing it out, and that match is going to be great because they haven't played since the NASL where Boxer, I don't know if I should spoil anything, but it was a pretty one-sided series there. Pool C, we have MMA, and you also have Root Slush, or formerly Root Slush. I think he's on Reign now. Slush always does well in almost every MLG, but he never gets high enough to get recognition. I think he's going to do pretty well, but MMA's in there, and from the finals of Columbus, he just was all over the map nonstop. He's going to be the one to watch in there. Pool D has Moonin, MVP, Kiwi, Kaki, Machine, and Slick. That's the last one. It's going to be rough because you have these crazy players. I feel like Machine, who is a great Zerg, is actually one of the lower players in there, which sets the bar pretty high. Kiwi Kaki is going to have some awesome Blink Stalker plays coming out because that's his go-to unit. Select will be as aggressive as possible, and MVP is going to be the Korean in that group, and he's going to make it be pretty impressive. So if I'm going to go through and pick my favorites from each one, I'm going to say Dongrigu in Group A, Boxer in B. I think Slush is going to do something special, so I'm going to pick Slush over MMA, which is really, really bold.
I would agree because I really like MMA in that group. But Good choice, though. We'll see. I think that there's definitely a chance that could happen.
Yeah, he never gets recognition, or not nearly as much as he deserves. And Group D, I feel like I'm Korean heavy on here. I mean, what can you do? It's StarCraft. But I think it's going to be a toss-up between MVP and Kiwikaki. I think if it comes down to a TVT, it's going to be Select versus MVP. I feel like MVP's got the edge in there. And I don't think Machine is going to be able to do too well in there, but I want to see him do well because he is a Zerg brethren. So I'm going to go with Kiwikaki in that group. As far as the open bracket, we have the big names in here: White Raw, Jinro, Vibe, TT1, Tyler, Destiny, Ganji, QXC, Choya, Alicia, Cruncher, Optic Zero, DDE, LZ Gamer, Phoenix Rain, Cats, Axlab, Mert. And then you have like 100 other people like myself who are just going to do the best we can. Vibe is going to do well. TT1 has won an MLG, so he'll do well. Tyler, if he's been playing really well and practicing hard, he'll do really well. By his own admission, he says he hasn't been trying his best as of late, but if he wants it, he'll have it. QXC did some amazing stuff in the GSL not too long ago, so I think he's going to do pretty well. Choya is the coach of FOU, so he's going to come with a lot of knowledge. I don't know if he has the actual mechanical skill to back it up personally, but I think his play is going to be really, really robust and intelligent.
Some pretty extensive predictions you gave us there, Tyler. I do think that it seems like, and definitely with good reason, you picked quite a few foreigners as some of the people that were your favorites in different areas. If you were to pick, in your mind, if you had one North American player that could have a breakout performance, that could really show their stuff at this event coming up at Anaheim, which North American player should we watch out for this tournament?
Oh, that's tough. I think if we look at Zerg, it's going to be Idra, Sheth for the top Zerg spot, and I think there's been a show match between them, which was, well, let's say if it's going to be Zerg, it's going to be Idra. If it's going to be Protoss, it'll be a toss-up between TT1 or Huck, I think. And I think Huck will take advantage because he's been in Korea for a while training up. If it's going to be a Terran, I'm just immediately drawn to Select. He's been doing so well, and I've been watching him in tournaments, and he's been tearing it up. Between the three, I think I'm going to have to go for Huck, actually. Didn't think I'd be saying that. But yeah, I think if an American's going to pull it out, or a North American, it'll be Huck.
So you mentioned Huck as who you think will be the highest placing North American, and I would probably agree with you. I think when you look at the top 16 or top 20 players, I definitely think you have to look at Pool A and Pool B. Pool A has Huck as a Protoss player, and he hasn't been in MLG lately, but he is a Codes player in GSL, and he's going to be going up against Naniwa as well, who won in Dallas, came all the way from the open bracket, kind of had one of those miraculous runs, only dropped, I think, 1, maybe 2 rounds, period. But Huck and Naniwa are going to be competing in a PvP to see who can really be the top Protoss. And then on top of that, they have to compete against Dongre Gu, who will be the GSL player in that pool as a Zerg. And so I think the winner of Huck and Naniwa will probably give Dongre Gu a little run for his money because he hasn't been able to qualify in Code S or Code A yet. He did play in the team ladder for GSTL, but he hasn't really done much in an individual sense. And then you look at Pool B, you have to look obviously at Idra, but Sheth as well went over to GSL and played in Code A in July, and I believe made it to the round of 16, which is further than Boxer did and further than some other good players have, including Jinro, who's playing through the open bracket. A big story there is not only will Idra win, but Boxer, who is known as the Emperor in StarCraft Brood War, however in StarCraft 2 has slowly been declining, and I think this is going to be a big event for Boxer as well, because if he can't do good in MLG and loses to someone like Idra or Sheth and doesn't make it out of that group, a lot of people are going to be questioning whether he will, be able to come back from this. He's older. He's kind of had his time, and obviously was one of the best Brood War players ever. But StarCraft 2 has kind of been slipping down a little bit, so this is going to be a good foreign event for him to prove outside of Korea that he still has it, he still can compete, and he can be on top of the rest of the world outside of Korea.
Yeah, I think coming off the DreamHack event, Huck set pretty high expectations, or at least hopes, for a lot of North American fans. In an interesting way, I want to point out this does take, in an almost an odd way, pressure off Idra. Because now Idra isn't that North American player with all this attention solely. that may benefit Idra and may result in a stronger showing. I think it's going to be interesting.
I do too. I think that last event, it was more about how is Idra going to face originally Bomber, but then ended up being MC. It was more how is he going to face off against the Koreans. And now you have so many Koreans coming over, as well as people like Huck coming back. It's more of, how are those players going to do? And especially with Boxer and Idra's group, that match will obviously be, the big story, just like Idra versus MC was in that group before. But it's really going to be whether Boxer can maintain his, Brood War prowess, or whether, he's going to slowly kind of drop off. Because, I'm not going to say discount In Control either out of that group. It always seems like In Control runs into one of his teammates. He's always facing Machine or somebody, especially a Zerg. And so that's going to be tough for him facing off with Idra. And a lot of people think that In Control will probably lose that. But, Idra doesn't really have the pressure on him like I think Boxer will, especially on the Korean scene, but also in the full worldwide scene.
Yeah, I think everybody is going to be watching, Boxer versus Idra. I think that's the match. As North Americans, Huck, Idra, they represent the best of what we have. And I both are obviously excellent players. I think Boxer coming over is huge. But something you said that I want to kind of focus on for a moment. Last event, it is fair to say that Idra almost prepared for the wrong person. This event, we should see Idra prepared, hopefully for Boxer. That would probably be his, top competitors you mentioned. The question that I sort of have now is, we know Idra has a girlfriend. We know that from conversation, she has been an enormous asset. You bring Huck into the picture, which is pretty unique because, again, I think it takes the spotlight off Idra. Do we have a stronger showing from Idra? Or take this the other way. Does Huck now have to live up to all of this? And if he doesn't do so well, do people start saying, see, DreamHack was a fluke?
I think a lot of people do see DreamHack as a fluke. A lot of casual StarCraft fans I talk to will say, oh, well, look who we had to play. We had to play Moon. Moon was just kind of so-so at MLG last time. And for me personally, I'm really looking forward to if Idra and Huck ever match up, because everybody has the image in their SIG of Idra flipping him off, because that's just kind of one of those moments. And I think everybody's looking for something like that to come back, because that's a match that Huck can really prove himself in. And I think a lot of people look to DreamHack as kind of, oh, yeah, he won, but who did he play? At MLG, with the pool play, he's kind of forced to play some good people, but as well, if you lose one match, you're thrown into the loser's bracket, and you are fighting for your life from there. So I think it's a lot more pressure is going to be on Huck than on Idra, like it was last event.
I think no matter how you look at it, when you talk about Idra, the one thing you have to ask yourself is, has he improved mentally? Because we've seen time and time again, he's thrown away games he's been massively ahead in because he didn't believe in himself and he got frustrated and quit out.
Right, and he came on, I believe it was State of the Game after that, and talked to people about it, and talked to In Control and Marcus and all about it, and he admits that, okay, I know I quit early, but I don't think he was ever really able to fix it. It's like, now that I go back and look at it, I realize my mistakes, but when it comes time to play, I'm actually going to be able to do it. And I'm not sure if he'll actually be able to do that. So if it comes to a match with, Sheth or Boxer in his group, is that going to happen again? And it wouldn't surprise me if it did. I'm not sure if he's quite mentally to that stage yet.
You bring up a good point. I mean, that kind of change usually doesn't happen overnight. And even though some time has passed in between events, I mean, I can't speak to what Idra's been focusing on or what his preparation has been specifically in this arena. But I believe for sure he will remain in the game longer. But, that doesn't mean he necessarily will have the focus needed in those key moments, because I think it's always psychologically very damaging when a player kind of resigns themselves or they start to have that feeling, I'm going to lose, instead, of no matter what, I'm going to try to win. I think those are two very different perspectives. And I think for sure he won't quit early, but whether he still has that focus and that perspective at the end, I mean, we're going to see that by the decisions he makes in those key moments. One more thing I want to touch on, too, is, back in Losers Bracket Round 32, and we had Huck on, and meeting him last year, I personally feel like Huck has a great story, meaning that This is a single focus. This is pure drive to be the best in the world. He's had a very focused goal to be number one, and he's been very public and outspoken that, his goal is to be the number one StarCraft player in the world. I think DreamHack was a huge victory. We also know that Huck says he doesn't like to travel a lot because he doesn't like to miss that much practice time. You're in the airport, you've got an event, you don't play a lot of games at an event. You just play your matches and you're kind of standing around, and then you have to fly back. I think that him coming to Anaheim really does speak a lot about how important the MLG events are. That's something I think we don't want to miss in all this either, is that not only are we getting the top Koreans to come over, part of an exchange, though, Huck has decided to come. And I think for so many reasons, that is really important. Not to mention, we don't know that there's still an ace in the hole, Blizzard's presence in Anaheim. I think we don't know what their contribution, what they're going to do. Are we going to see some people? Could there be some announcements? There's a lot of things that could happen there.
Yeah, with the expansion coming out, this is a prime time to, make an announcement about that. Obviously, that's going to affect things just like Brood War did with StarCraft 1. And back to the traveling you're mentioning about Huck, I do think he is proving how important MLG is, but I also think players like Sheth, who has gone over and competed in Code A now, Idra, who has pretty much backed out of GSL to focus more on the foreign/North American scene, players like Jinro coming back to play. I think a lot of these players are starting to realize MLG is a place, we really need to support. And so I'm glad they're kind of taking notice of that and making sure that they do get out to these events. Huck doesn't come to all of them, but like you said, he's talked about concentrating on, trying to kind of make more of a base for himself instead of just constantly traveling around. And I think Idra, getting back to him, they just started the EG house. And so that's something maybe not only helping him with his rage quitting, but also helping, kind of settling players down, getting more practice for some of the North American players like him, In Control, Machine, to get that, necessary practice and the necessary rest. So they're not constantly traveling around. They have one main base to stay in. And I think that's been an advantage for Korean players, and Huck being over there in Korea playing, is that they've had kind of a base to play and they haven't had to just run around, constantly from event to event to event.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is one disadvantage of our StarCraft presence in the past, is that you're right. We were the ones always having to do the travel. And, obviously South Koreans having a central location, being able to practice with, that caliber, and to not go very far and to have a crowd that's cheering you on. All those advantages, I think, over time start to add up. And I think, again, I suspect that all eyes will be on the StarCraft stream in Anaheim. GSL was just 50 million. I think MLG is going to be at least that big. I think this is what everyone wants to see.
Couldn't agree with you guys anymore. I know that I personally am going to be absolutely glued to the stream this weekend. Competitive StarCraft has taken over all of my esports watching habits. I am stoked to watch this. I am also stoked to have had Mr. VVV MileyCyrus here on the show with us this week. Tyler, absolute blast having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. And definitely best of luck to you. I know you actually are going to be competing at Anaheim, so kick some ass. We hope to see you on the stream as well. Any shout-outs that you'd like to give before you head out?
Just the obvious one. I want to thank VVB for giving me the opportunity to go play by showing me all these great people and having them encourage me to go for what I want.
Tyler, I just want to say thank you so much for your StarCraft insight. Don't be surprised if we don't ask you back on the show next week to give us your impressions of what happened at Anaheim. Is that something you might be able to do for us?
Absolutely. I'd love to come back and talk about it.
Awesome, Tyler. Good luck. To be fair, I know you've been moving. I'm sure you didn't have a lot of time to practice, but did your move at least go well?
Yeah, for the most part, it's going pretty well. I'm half in, half out, so I'm in a empty room right now with a desk because I love my internet and I don't want to say goodbye to it yet.
That's dedication right there. Well, I really want to wish you the best of luck. Hope the rest of the move goes very smooth, and we'll catch you next week after Anaheim. Have a safe trip. Good luck. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Take care.
as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to round 77 of VVV Gaming's Losers Bracket podcast. Very exciting week ahead of us. We're in store for some epic matches at both EVO and MLG Anaheim this coming weekend. Make sure to stay tuned to all streams. Tons of games to watch this weekend. Everything from Halo to Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and tons of other titles. Black Ops, the big one in StarCraft, etc., etc. You know what you're in for. You listen to the show. Thank you so much yet again for tuning in. Big thank you to all of our guests. We had the guys from the Mortal Kombat division, Test Your Might admin, Krayzie, VVV Krayzie. We also had VVV Napalm on the show. Best of luck to them over at EVO. Additionally, VVV Nynjatic from our Black Ops team, Fly Society. Best of luck to you guys. We're rooting you on as well as Force. Kick some ass in the Black Ops tournament. Mr. MileyCyrus. Yeah, you heard that right. Mr. MileyCyrus. Tyler, thanks for lending us your StarCraft knowledge. We look forward to having you back here next week. Big thank you, as always, to VVV sponsors. That would be SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, and Custom Ink. Additional thanks to the VVV gaming community and, of course, the entire competitive gaming community for all of your feedback, all of your support. You guys are what keep us going. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. The website there is vvvgaming.podbean.com. Subscribe to us over on iTunes by searching for VVV Gaming, and you'll be able to pull up all our episodes, put them on your MP3 players, things of that nature. Take us on the road with you while you're traveling to Anaheim. Email us any questions, suggestions, comments to the Losers Bracket at vvv-gaming.com. You can also tweet us your feedback or follow us on Twitter so you get all the latest Losers Bracket news. The account on Twitter is simply Losers Bracket. Guys, once again, I know I'm going to sound redundant here, but thank you so much for tuning in to the show. If you're traveling out to either Vegas or Anaheim this weekend for one of these large tournaments, travel safely. We cannot wait to hear the stories. Enjoy yourselves, and we will see you back here next week on the Losers Bracket.
Everybody take care. Have a good night. Star Wars, The Old Republic. Remember, join the guild.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next week.